Hey, what's going on, Travis? Red again, just hitting you guys up with another video. If you're new to my channel, welcome. So guys, this is more of a educational video. Let me send you guys some blessings because this video is quite quite a deep one. Peace, love, light, oneness, unity, abundance, health, forgiveness, and peace. So yeah, this is gonna be quite a deep video because I've been guided to do this because this is I think this is the current energies that's in the collective at the moment, like the whole grief, just dealing with grief in general. I've met so many people over the last couple of weeks that are experiencing grief, and I haven't done a video on grief and my experience before, so yeah, we're just yeah, I'm just going to give you some insight to how to deal with grief and just grief in general. So yeah, this video may be a long video because I want to cover like the whole thing on grief. So yeah, let's just get straight to it anyway. So I've had to do my writing for this video, so bear with me anyway, guys. So along the human experience, at some point in your journey, everybody will experience grief at some point, whether it's a loss of a friendship, whether it's a loss of a family member, whether it's a loss of a relationship. Grief, it doesn't matter how big or small the loss is, you'll still have to go through the grieving period. And there, I'm gonna wait. I've kind of written this all a bit funnier at the moment. So yeah, no matter how big or small the loss is, you'll have to go through a grieving period. And there's 5 stages of grief. There's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And there's also complicated grief. Complicated grief is when you miss a stage of your grieving process, so the healing process hasn't fully taken place. This can go on for years because I've experienced this. Not kind of skipping the certain grieving processes, because I remember when I was grieving, I was angry. Yeah, I've been through all of it, but I wouldn't, because when you're grieving as well, you can be more prone to addictions as well. So when I was kind of grieving, I was suppressing and not feeling, so that made me skip. I didn't process any of it for years, yeah. So that kind of prolongs the healing, and the healing still needs to take place, because you can go around carrying it for years, as I said, if you're not allowing yourself to process your grief. And okay, moving on. Okay, so also feeling. I keep saying this in most of my videos. Feeling is healing. So most people, including myself on my journey, will do anything to try to avoid feeling the grief. So whether you're distracting yourself, whether you're numbing the pain, or just avoiding it in general, most people will try to avoid feeling, but feeling is healing. You don't have to feel it all in one go, but if you kind of visit what hurts you now and again, you begin to actually start healing and processing what's actually happened. And that's obviously learning to accept what's happened, and yeah, learning to accept what happens. And grieving is normal. It's a part of the human experience. And yeah, suppressing, that will go along with not wanting to feel, so drinking alcohol, taking other substances, becoming a workaholic, and not actually feeling what you're going through, so suppressing. If you're going through a grieving period at any point in your journey, I'm talking for experience, yeah, be very kind to yourself, because grieving is not easy, man. it's painful. It is painful. Um, yeah, it is very painful. So yeah, I can see why people can want to avoid feeling the grief, because yeah, I was trying to avoid it for like 10 years. Um, Looking back on it, which kind of sucked because that just prolonged. I was walking around angry, um, depressed for like 10 years when it didn't need to be that long. But obviously, whenever you're ready to, you'll come to a point in your journey where you will want to start healing and make peace with what's kind of happened so you can move forward in your journey. Because, yeah, things happen to us on our journey. Yes, they can be very sad and traumatic, but we don't need to live there, because if you're still living there, that will make you depressed, because that's living in the past. It's okay to feel sad and stuff, but you don't need to be carrying around the 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 heavy energy to it, because there try to. Okay, yeah. Let me just carry on, because I'm gonna cover that afterwards anyway. Um, so when you're going through your grieving process, um, talk to trusted friends about what you're experiencing, um, to help lighten the load, because um, yeah, sorry. Talk to trusted friends about what you're going through and get advice on other people's experience, because everyone will experience grief at some point in their journey. So if you're speaking to more mature people, they can give you better advice because they've experienced a lot more, like breakups, losing family members, even something like losing a pet can be so traumatic. Because I remember when my daughter lost their cat passed away, she was devastated. So she experienced grief at a young age, and I had to witness the whole grieving process from her as well. So that was quite um, yeah, I had to be compassionate and kind of give her space to um, heal. But yeah, you can't intervene in someone else's healing process when they're grieving, because it's for them alone, and by them skipping one of the stages of grief may prolong the healing process. Um, and another thing is people, um, if you're going through the grieving process as well, try to distract yourself as well. Not to say avoiding, like, because you'll probably be thinking about everything, but that's okay. But you don't want to get consumed by it, because your thoughts will most likely always home in on the negative. So looking at past experiences, when I lost my friend, when I was grieving, I was focusing all on the negative. But then now I'm out of it. It's like there was way more positive than the negative. That if that makes sense. Um, yeah, way more positive than the negative, and that took me a while to process and kind of see it from a different point. A more high, well, because I'm healed now. Um, I can look back on it and see where I was at when I was grieving. Just homing in on the negative when there was so much positive there, and I'm just worrying about and obsessing about the negative things when there was a lot of positive there. So yeah, distracting yourself, but not to avoid feeling what you're experiencing. Um, and to remind yourself, it's okay to feel the way that you do, because when I was grieving, I was going like I was the only person who's experienced grief. um, oh yeah, I've got to carry this all on my own. I didn't talk about it with no one. I was just carrying it. um, and it's okay. Everyone will go through some form of grieving during their life experience, and that's um, it's just how it is. But if you can try and look at it um, from like a higher vantage point or a different point of view, um, you can see it's just a part of the cycle of life: birth, death, and reincarnation. Even though it's hard to view that when you're currently in it, but that's the way it is. Yeah, that's the way it is. And you can always connect with, you can always connect on an energy level to lost family members, animals, all of that, because my loved ones are always around me and I can feel them. If you think about them, um, if you think about them, sometimes they may show you a sign, so you may see a feather on your path, or you may hear their favorite tune come on. If you think about them or talking about them, it's really strange. Um, and remind yourself it's okay to not be okay, because a lot of people walk around, oh yeah, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm okay, but really you're not okay, and it's okay to not be okay. um, yeah, because always used to think, oh yeah, you have to be independent. Like I've done a video about programming and conditioning, about men shouldn't cry and men shouldn't really express emotions and show certain things. When, dude, it's a whole part of the human experience. It's okay to be emotional, vulnerable, and it's okay to be sad, and it's okay to not be okay. Yeah, um, and um, it dependent on how severe the trauma is, you may need to get professional help. Just because if you experience like severe trauma, or your your grief was severe or very sudden, sometimes it can be hard for the mind to process. So you may need to get professional help, and the grieving process can take years. It can take years to fully heal. And sometimes from the past trauma, if it was very severe, it's not going to be a short healing process either. So you may have had counselling, you've spoke about it, certain situations, but have you actually felt it and processed it? It's okay talking about it, but processing it, because trauma and stuff can get ingrained in the muscles and it can get ingrained in your energy field. So it's okay talking about it, but actually feeling it is a different thing, and you will feel it in your energy system, your chakra system as well. That's why a lot of people close off their heart chakra, or have root chakra problems as well, depending what kind of trauma you've had. But I'm talking about more of a loss here. So if it's a loss, most of the time you'll probably close down your heart chakra or close down your root chakra, and you become a bit unbalanced and insecure in your journey. Okay. um Moving on. Yeah, this is my mum's famous saying, and it's always stayed with me when I was going through my grief and being suicidal and stuff. This too shall pass. Like that's the, I might even get that tattooed on me. Yeah, this too shall pass. Whatever your current experience is, it will pass. But you just gotta hold that in mind. Even though it's really hard and feeling what you're going through, it can be very difficult. I've been there. I'm talking to you guys from experience, yeah, and I'm speaking as genuine as I. Well, I'm just genuine. I'm an open book. What you see is what you get. I have nothing to hide. So yeah, even when I was suicidal, my mum would always remind me, yeah, it will pass, it will pass. And then when I was in it, I'm like, no, it's not passing, and blah 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 blah. But listen, I've been there, and I've experienced quite a lot, so much on my journey. I can relate to so much. But it will pass. Them feelings, they do get less and less and less. Not saying they will fully go away, but you learn to live with the grief and them feelings as well, and to take take it a day at a time. Try not to, whatever, when you're going through your grieving process or healing, just take it a day at a time. We're talking more about grief here, but it's also healing. Just take it a day at a time. You haven't got to be, like I was saying, be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, show yourself compassion, show yourself, it's a good time to practice self-love if you're experiencing grief. Just to take it one day at a time. If you can't, if you feel that you can't get out of bed, that's okay. But make sure you're not kind of sitting in it, and it's okay to sit in it and explore and stuff, but you don't want to be overwhelmed and consumed by it, yeah, because that's when you're letting it consume you. You need to kind of distract yourself, go out for a little walk around the park, contact a friend, family member, do something that you used to enjoy. Sometimes when you're in grief, you feel like you cannot do anything and you're not interested in anything. That's okay. Journaling is also good, writing about what you're currently experiencing, thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Yeah, I said focus on the good. Try to focus on the good in when you're grieving. Yeah, don't be hard on yourself, man. While you're going through the grieving process as well. Like I was saying, it's about being kind to yourself and not beating yourself up. Me and my friend fell out before he passed away, and this I held on to that, and was homing in on the negative when there was so much more good to not falling out, but we kind of in a way drifted apart, which is also a grieving process as well. But yeah, I was always homing in on the bad when there was so much good there. Yeah. So I used to be so hard on myself, and it's like, no, man, you don't need to be hard on yourself. Yeah, you need to be kind to yourself and be gentle and show yourself some compassion. And that's took me years to get there, man. That's took me years to get there. And like I was saying before, I may have said this already, complicated grief. If you're skipping certain stages of the grief, that will prolong the grief period. So that could last for years, and mine lasted for about 10 years, and that kind of sucked. Yeah, that sucked. So if you really want to fully start your beginning to heal from whatever experience has caused you grief, learn to explore. Don't try to avoid what you're feeling. And sometimes it can be very traumatic and hard to revisit certain places as well. It's all good talking about it, but feeling it and experiencing it again that's where the real healing occurs. And also from my grief, I had an ego death from my grief period, and that triggered my spiritual awakening. So after your grief, that also may happen to you on your journey as well. That's just my experience. Like after I come out of the grief, I totally saw the world totally different, and things just changed, and I viewed everything different, and I was no longer the same person that I used to be. So yeah, an ego death and a spiritual awakening can be caused by grief. And also, I'm going to cover this as well. I may do a video on this as well. Depending on the grief and how traumatic the experience was that caused you the grief, you may have a soul fragmentation. That's a part of your soul that kind of gets trapped in that experience and stops you from fully healing in the present moment. So if like a family member, relationship or friendship passed away, a part of you may you know when you hear, oh yeah, when that person died, I died with them. That is a part of their soul that's been broke away and is kind of still living in that current experience. So that kind of somewhat stops the healing process as well, because you need to regain that part of yourself, if that makes sense. And yeah, that can be quite hard if you don't know where to start. But exploring the 5 stages of your grief and revisiting what has caused you the grief will help you to regain that part of yourself that you've lost during that experience, if that makes sense. But yeah, that was just a little video on grief. And like I was saying, it's just in the collective. I've been guided to do a video about grief today, because it's just in the air, and a lot of people that I've come across on my journey the last 2 weeks or so are currently experiencing grief. I'm experiencing grief at the moment to a certain degree as well. So yeah, I was just guided to do a video on grief. And yeah, man, things do get better and it will pass. And just to remember to be kind to yourself and to feel what you're experiencing. Don't suppress it because suppressing leads to depression and feeling is healing. So yeah, that was just a little video on grief, because I haven't done one on grief before. If you like the video, you guys already know what to do, and I'm going to hit you guys up real soon with another video, depending where I get guide to do so anyway. But peace, love and light, tribe, and I'm going to hit you guys up real soon.